You didn't come here to live what the producers or the corporations want us to live. You came here for a special purpose, and you're the only one who knows that. And it's often shrouded in the things we're really good at, the things we would do in our spare time, and the things that we just can't imagine getting paid for.
Hello, and welcome to the Shift Your Day Job podcast. I'm Brittany Cates, your host on this incredible journey of career transformation. Get ready for inspiring stories, valuable insights, and a roadmap to shift your mindset towards a more fulfilling professional life. In each episode, we explore the remarkable journeys of individuals who made a career change, offering motivation, strategies, and the confidence to pursue your dreams. Whether you're feeling stuck, contemplating a change, or just seeking a dose of inspiration, this podcast is your weekly companion. Tune in every Thursday as we uncover the secrets to shifting your day job. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shift Your Day Job podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Cates, and I'm so glad that you're here today. Before I jump into introducing my guest, I'd like to ask you a question. Are you ready to make a career change, but you just feel stuck, like you don't know the next steps to take in order to make it happen? Well, I have a brand new free resource called the Career Transition Blueprint, and it's 12 questions that will lead you to not only determining where you are in your career change journey, but it will also help you figure out what your next right step is. So if you're interested in getting some clarity around what actions you can take to start moving towards the career of your dreams, please connect with me on Instagram at Shift Your Day Job or go to my website, brittanycates.com, and you can access your free career transition blueprint from there. I look forward to helping you take your first or your next step towards shifting your day job. Today's episode is a special one. I'm sitting down with Michelle Woodward, who has such an interesting and unconventional career journey. She went from being a Hollywood producer's assistant to a business consultant, graphic artist, and now a life and energy coach. Michelle shares how all these different experiences led her to discover her true passion for energy medicine and intuitive guidance. We get into some deep topics like trusting the universe, embracing who you really are, and using your strengths to do work that feels truly meaningful. Michelle also gives us some great insights on energetic hygiene, how to protect your energy, and set energy boundaries, which is so important in today's world. If you've been struggling with self-doubt or just feeling out of alignment, this conversation will definitely resonate with you. Michelle also shares some practical tools for maintaining positive energy and living in alignment with your purpose. I'm so excited for you to hear her story. So let's get started by welcoming Michelle to the podcast. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the Shift Your Day Job podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, I am doing well. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about your journey from you started out as a Hollywood producer, which sounds pretty like glamorous and
I
not
was their executive assistant. I was not
okay.
the producer.
Okay. Even still, it's not like a typical thing you hear every day. And just, I would love to hear how that evolved into the coaching that you're doing today. So if you don't mind starting off with your story, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've always been a little different, didn't fit into any of the molds, not sure what I wanted to be in life because there wasn't really anything at that point yet defined that I could really shine in. So I tried a bunch of different things, which I did great within. And through a series of events and breakups and life shifts in my young 20s, I ended up through a referral of a friend meeting this woman, and she was a Hollywood producer. And it was just an eclectic, eccentric, field experience. It really taught me a lot. I got to see who I was and what I was made up of. And then I moved from there into business consulting. And I worked for small businesses, helping them get their feet off the ground because that's just what I had done. There's so many parts. I'm trying to make this a shorter story. But I've always found my connections to whatever my next was through people I knew. And one of my next business consulting gigs, I helped someone start up a pawn shop, build a pawn shop to a certain level in the heart of Inglewood in California. So it was just like extraordinary experiences along the way all the time. And I always trusted that I would be able to do whatever I was doing next because I had no experience. And I think for your listeners that are looking to shift their day job, we think that we have to have all this like capability and experience to be able to shift into something different. And we don't. The universe has always got our back.
Yeah.
It's like that. From there, I just really at one point realized that I wanted to do something more creative because I was supporting people in these different roles and it was great, but there was something more that was calling me that kind of just, hey, what about this? And so I got my certificate in graphic arts, started a freelance graphic art business, did that for a while. And while I was doing that, I met my mentor. Her name's Dory Lynn Ray, and she has a body of work called Self-Hit System. And what she did was introduce me to this world of energy medicine and participating in people's transformation. And there was something that came alive in me so big that it was clear I couldn't keep doing what I was doing professionally. And I was terrified because it was so radically different. It was me having to own more of who I truly was that maybe I hadn't shown the world out there or even the people close to me fully. They know me. I've always been me. But I feel as I've moved along and embraced my career in life coaching and intuitive guidance, I've become my more true self and been able to serve a lot of people. But at that transition, when I was doing graphic arts, at the time I was doing graphic arts, I met my mentor and I helped her synthesize her body of work, which led us to doing some workshops in California and Colorado. And that's when I got to see what it feels like to participate in someone's transformation. And it lit me up. And so from that, I would go back into my day job as a graphic artist, and it was not in alignment. I knew better, and the universe was like, you need to transition over here, which I'm sure is what happened with you too, as you experience your transitions. There's this real knowing that can't keep going this direction, gotta change. And I didn't listen. I was terrified. I had all these reasons. I felt like I didn't deserve to actually do something like this because I didn't have the college degrees for it. I didn't have experience, just all those reasons that one can come up with to resist what's in front of you. And it was beautiful because my arms gave out. I developed carpal tunnel syndrome and I could no longer work.
Yeah.
Like when we don't listen, the universe will just come knocking a little louder and then a little louder, and that's just gonna knock you on your feet.
Yeah.
Here. So that's when I decided I gotta do something different. I had the surgery and at my like checkup meeting with the orthopedist after the surgery, he was talking about what it would take for my recovery, that I really shouldn't use this arm anymore. And I said, I've got my left hand. And he's like, that one is about to go down the same route. And I remember sitting in the office just going, oh my God, what am I thinking? So it required that I summons the courage to take the next steps. And I did. And it was scary, but all sorts of things showed up to support me getting on the path that I'm on career wise now. You know, one thing after another. And so when things like that start occurring, you have to go, okay, I surrender.
Gotta pay attention now. Like you said, the things just keep coming and you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
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 I I think there's a lot of things in there that I think are very relatable to everybody. Like you felt the knowing and then you made all the excuses and didn't follow through right away. And I think that's pretty normal, especially with a lot of the societal expectations and what you think your life is supposed to be or look like. And oh, what if I veer off of that path? What are people going to say? And especially like how yours was more of an unconventional type of shift, right? Like into the energy work, which you'll talk a little bit more about. But, and then I love this idea of embracing your true self, and not that it wasn't showing up along the way and that people didn't know, but by diving in and just truly like being all in and letting your true color shine per se, right? Like by embodying more of who you are authentically, you can show up in a more fulfilled way.
And yeah. And I feel like the impact I've been able to have has been exponentially greater as I made that switch.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing about coming home to yourself and showing up. I don't know what other word to use besides authentically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, once you are able to do that, then you can serve people in the best way possible for you, right? Because you're not
Yeah.
holding back your gifts that you have to offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did you like navigate this idea of, well, I don't have the credentials or the background to go into this area? Like, did you end up taking courses or what helped you shift your mindset to say, no, I can do this anyway?
Yeah. The work I did with my mentor and just seeing the impact I could have on a room of people and the work that I did myself and how it changed the people around me as well. And so that gave me a foundation. And I did a ton of learning and became really competent. And then when it was time for me to lean in and get trained, there was life coaching. It was just emerging as a legitimate career path. It had parts and different elements. And I thought organizational development, but I didn't really see myself working in a corporate environment. And I really wanted to, anyhow. So there were all these established things, but finally life coaching came and I was able to get trained and certified at the Coaches Training Institute, which is one of the founders of the profession. And they developed the intuition, which I really was looking for. I knew that I just needed to recognize and then have some training around my intuitive development. And so that was really cool. And I went on to do leadership and in so many different ways, lots of trainings, learning how to create exponential learning. I so I think the life coaching certification gave me the confidence to hang my shingles. And plus, while I was injured, I went and got trained and certified as an adult educator in the state of California based on the schooling and work I had done previously. And I was doing some teaching in that in between space. And right when I first got my coaching certification. And again, this is something I'm gifted in. So me just practicing being in front of people and delivering information and supporting their transformation and holding space. I already had this in me from another time because it was more like things just came awake. And that validated for me that I don't need whatever society dictates. Everyone's different and everyone has their path and can make their own choices. And for me, what I was individually pursuing was really making a PhD level education. It's just not recognized by our systematic colleges. Yeah, I just could see that I didn't need what I had thought to be able to offer what I do.
Yeah.
I continue to get certifications and things like that. I value the experience and training too.
Yeah, for sure. I get that. I'm similar. I
Yeah.
love learning and learning about new things and how it's going to help you in what you're already doing, help elevate what you already
Yeah,
know or what you're already doing. I love this idea of you already had it in you. It just needed to be, what was the word to
like
use?
awakened
Awakened.
and
Yeah. Like,
practiced.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really big lesson for people to consider, right? What is something that I am really good at or that people maybe complimented me on or something, right? That maybe I'm
Yeah,
not using as much as I could. And how can I start like tapping into that, right? Um,
totally. Part of the journey I take my clients on first, like if someone wants to dive in with me, is we explore who they are and why they're here. And there's a lot of places to look to get that information. And there's a resonance that they feel when they read this or hear this that, like I said, awakens, it sparks, it there's so much in our world dictating to us how to be and who to be and what to do and what to wear and where to live and all of it. Everyone wants our agency. But when we pause and say, s- back off, I gotta look at myself again. And we remember it's so, and the answers start to appear. Then the right next step, the person that could help you pops into your head or bumps into you, all those synchronicities start occurring. And I love it when we get there because it changes everything. It changes everything because you didn't come here to live what the producers or the corporations want us to live. You came here for a special purpose, and you're the only one who knows that. And it's often shrouded in the things we're really good at, the things we would do in our spare time, and the things that we just can't imagine getting paid for.
I was talking to someone recently who was saying, like, how do we make our everyday more magical, right? And recognizing those things throughout the day that really are miracles or are just amazing things to bring us joy rather than living in the downward, like getting things done. How do we open our eyes up to all of the magic around us? And so that's what it makes me think of.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much magic. This life is meant to be joyful. And it's our brain. I'm a neuroscience geek too. I love that. I wasn't doing this and I really felt like going back to school, I would dive into neuroscience from like a to impact the scientific community about how they're thinking about it. But I appreciate that. Our brain has a negative bias. It doesn't automatically wake up in the morning and go, hey, it goes, oh, what do we got to do? But the good news is that our brain can be trained. And if we practice, like you're saying, focusing on the things that work, the moments of synchronicity and magic and miracles, consciously and intentionally put ourselves in the path of miracles on a daily. People think about that, but we have free will. So the non physical support that we have, needs us to ask. And one of our superpowers is intention and we have the ability to ask. And we have agency. That's a pretty awesome way to be built. We just haven't been taught how to use it.
Mm.
Okay, I'm off on a tangent. I just everybody claim your birthright.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. Obviously, we have agency. And that's part of being a human. And yet we give it away so easily based on how we have been brought up. I feel like it's environmental, right? Environmentally like learned behavior, but realizing we can take it back by utilizing those tools, like you said, asking God, the universe, whatever you believe in, source to help us along the way and having that intention of this is the path I want to be on, or this is what I want to do. And then looking for how that's answered throughout our day.
Yeah.
And we can reclaim that agency. So,
Yeah. And just a little side note, it's like a public service to do that because when we change our vibration, which by doing that on a daily, changes your vibration. The more light or vibration we can bring onto this planet, the better things get for everyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't just benefit your life, you don't just feel happier, it ripples out.
Yeah.
And also doing it makes it possible for others because I didn't think about this when I was younger. It wasn't until I was like 25 that I really understood agency, and I get it at a whole different level today.
Mm.
Yeah. I think it's just important to put that in our subconscious field and think about that and utilize that and make it a daily practice. So, one of my big things is energetic hygiene, and that is part of energetic hygiene because you think about it. In the turn of the 20th century, we understood washing our hands was beneficial. It created less infections in the hospital. People lived longer. Wow. We all started bathing more and washing our hands. Then in the late 1930s, dental hygiene started being pushed out and becoming a thing. And again, our life improved, right? Longer life, better health, all of that. So now it's the 21st century, and I want people to think about and start adapting energetic hygiene as a daily practice because we are little electromagnetic fields and we collect dust. We collect other people's energy. We collect emotions that we're unwilling to feel. We collect trauma in our body. So we're a mess, but we're energetic and we can do something about it. And a little bit every day, one stops the collection. It's like when you finally learn, oh, if I just did this, my house wouldn't get as messy. Like you put in little systems and you can stack them on things you're doing already in the day.
Yeah.
So when you start doing that, and this is a practice like you were talking about, recognizing the different things that are good and training your mind, that cleans you up on a daily. You're not going to be collecting unforgiveness. It's just really good. So, and everyone practice energetic hygiene.
Can you give us some examples of how people can do that or some tools to practice?
Absolutely. So, one of the things is being grounded. You've heard that concept. It's about being really fully in your body, connected to the earth. And so, again, utilizing some of our superpowers, we've got visualization. The mind does not differ between what it sees out here and what it sees in here. Same physiological response, same everything. Utilizing visualization, the intention, and some practice, whatever it is for you, whether it's feeling yourself like connecting to the earth, like you're a little electrical prong, the bottoms of your feet, and you connect in and you can feel that energy moving through you. Maybe you look at a tree, maybe you're holding onto a rock, maybe you're toning, like giving a om or some awesome, like I love rocks and I love visualization. So I visualize that I'm hugging my favorite tree. I've got these birch trees at this park in Kirkland, Washington, and they're just, I've hugged them so many times. So that's one way, grounding. And also splashing water on your face and hands gets you in your body and grounds you. It's a beautiful practice. It also lowers cortisol, so it reduces anxiety, which is a lovely thing. We often don't think about splashing our water because we have makeup or whatever. But even if you just get it from here down, it's going to feel, or just to have the water in your hands.
Mhm.
When I go to the bathroom, probably TMI, but right, I'm releasing. It's a place to dump, release. So in that moment, I do a body scan. And if I have any tension, I release it. If I'm holding any judgments, because human beings are judgment making machines, if I'm holding any judgments, I release them. If there's something that I'm resisting that's coming ahead of me, I release it. And so metaphorically, I'm sitting there stacking that on top of a physical thing I'm doing. I'm emotionally, mentally, spiritually releasing. And then when I flush, I just go, thank you. When I brush my teeth, I'm imagining that I'm scrubbing my field of
Mm,
any energy that isn't mine, any energy that I no longer need to support what's in the highest and best interest in my field. And then
yeah.
the same thing. It's
Yeah.
just adding a little intention and nuance, but those three things will change a lot. The beauty about energetic medicine and energetic processes is that it's so instantaneous. We have command over our field. And so there's a lot we can do to make ourselves feel better on a daily and stop us from collecting. There's so much up in the world right now. It's hard to be human.
Mhm. Especially like with how exposed to things we are with
Mhm.
technology these days. Yeah. It is,
Yeah.
it can be a lot to take on.
Oh,
I,
and one more, let me share. Speaking from that, when we're in front of a screen and we're taking in information, whether it's from a TV or even another person, if we're within arm's distance, we're sharing energy. And again, like if we don't have a practice of grounding and we have any history of trauma or we're struggling with what's on the planet right now, we're not going to fully be occupying our body. So there's going to be a vacuum and we can take on other people's energy. And signs and symptoms of that are like you bump into things, you're spacey. One minute you're feeling great, next you're like in a totally different mood. So we need to get their energy out of our field. It's not in integrity. The universe doesn't like it that way. It just happened. And so by saying something as simple as, is this energy mine? You bring awareness and intention to be back fully in your body, aware of your body, checking the energy of your body. That energy of the other goes back to where it belongs because it doesn't want to be here. It's just like these inappropriate energetic boundaries. So that's a great way, especially at the end of being on your computer at the end of the day or even in a session.
yeah. Yeah, I even think of even being out in the world and like at a cash register or having some kind of
Mhm.
interaction that way too. And then coming home and feeling maybe stressed or like extra letting that go.
Yeah. So people have tools. It's important for us to have our boundary be solid. Like, so everyone's heard of an aura in Western medicine, they call it a biofield, but it's the energetic shell to us. It's our energy body. And what happens is some people are built where they don't really have much of a outer boundary. And then when we have trauma or we've been oppressed or if we haven't had proper energetic boundaries, we will have issues with the integrity of our boundary. But through intention, visualization, and also something physical, because that's a good trifecta. But with all of those together, you can really be intentional about making sure that you have a boundary. A lot of people visualize it as like
Mhm.
some iridescent or white, beautiful exterior that's solid. I like to have an intention that love is allowed in. I'll manage all my emotions and feelings, and then love is allowed out. I, and if I go into a situation that I feel has some sort of tension, I make my outer boundary mirror because I, like you, am a teacher at heart. And I want people to feel the impact of their shitty boundary.
So when you say mirror it, so like you have your energy, you visualize your energy around you and anything outside of it is
Yeah, yeah, like I
mirroring
have,
back to.
yes, like my outer coding is reflective.
Mm,
And
interesting.
so it sends back to them what they send.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of highly sensitive people on the planet. We know through studies there's about 20 to 24% of it, even animal populations that Elaine Aron has studied have this group of people. We also can identify them as empaths, and they're very sensitive to energy and they can take the energy. They think, oh, I can take this. They can't handle it, but it hurts them. They don't understand the real energetic impact. And so, this energetic hygiene that I talk about and building your boundary and having intention about what can come inside your boundary and what goes out. And like you said, rebuilding it, when you're in the grocery store and dealing with that person, you're like, whoa, wait, what happened? Um, and being responsible so that you don't carry that in your house
Mm,
because everything is energy
yeah.
and certain types of matter hold information. And so that's why the plumbing always goes wrong in houses, right? So, um, just saying, you can really make this a practice. And that's what I do. I don't know what they would call my birthday, but I've got an intense birthday as far as life event. But yet I'm able to process them, get the gold, move on, go back to joy. And it's pretty awesome when you have this kind of practice because then those miracles and synchronicities and all those things that we get so excited about experiencing in this form start to happen more frequently. And it's worth it. It doesn't take a lot of time each day. And when you see them working, you're going to be like, oh, this is becoming a habit.
Oh, I like the way that I'm feeling. I'm feeling better.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing all those different ways to
Absolutely.
go about energetic hygiene. I think that it's not something that people walk around thinking about. And especially this idea that everything is energy, like atoms are made of energy, like
We think
object,
it's all.
object in front of our eyes that we think is a thing, right? That's
Yeah.
how we interpret it. And yet it's so much more nuanced than that. And so to open your mind up to that, and there's just so much truth, like resonating truth, I think, when you talk about how we are energetic beings and then you process that information, you're like, oh, and you can see all the different ways that's true and reflected back to you in your life. And then realizing we have control over that part of us. I think that's a really enlightening and empowering tool to start working with if it's something that we haven't really ever thought about, especially. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And I feel like
Yeah.
one thing that I was thinking of in relation to we take energy in from other people and how it affects us. Like when I was teaching, obviously I have 30 little people, right? I'm taking on their energy and they're taking on mine like all day, every day. And I can reflect on moments in my career where I wasn't proud of how I was showing up for them.
Sure.
And the moments where I was working on the energetic piece and I was making more of an effort because I realized what was the impact that we had on each other. And that is also what took me to, yeah, I can't do this for the rest of my life, right? Was too much for me to manage. And knowing that I wanted to show up in the best possible way for those kids and feeling like I couldn't quite get there made me want to find a place where I felt more like I could show up in a more positive, energetic way, right?
Yeah. That's
So
incredibly responsible and loving of you. I want you to really get that. We are imperfect, perfectly imperfect,
yeah,
but what you did and the choices that you made in your life were incredibly responsible, loving, and brave
thank you.
because you invested a lot of your life into being able to do what you were doing. And it takes a lot. So I respect that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think that's one thing about being a teacher, right? Like it's about serving others and the love that, exude through that and feeling this like responsibility towards your student and navigating that for yourself because that's a lot to take on as one person.
Oh,
And
for sure.
not everybody can do it for, hey, you did what you could at that time and then moving on to something else, not take away from what you did when officially like that was your title.
Yeah, that's true.
no matter what career anybody's in right now. I think the first step is really like, how can I show up in where I'm at now with a little bit more positive vibration, right? How do I tap into that rather than I have to go in to work today and do the thing that I'm not loving? So,
That's where the power's at. And you think about it, we can't expect different results creating from the level that we created what we got at, right? It's hard to up level when you're down here. This sucks. Oh my God, another day. So you got to up level because then you're going to see different possibilities and opportunities. All the people, the opportunities, all that up here do not come down here. Like they're not visible. They don't show up. That's great advice that you gave.
you've shared tools to start implementing that. I think it's a great place to start because obviously not everybody can just shift their day job in one day. It's
Right.
often a process. So as I'm moving in that direction, right, what can I do within the now that's going to improve the now, but also help me with taking those steps towards what's next? So,
And never doubt your strengths.
can you like maybe give us an example of how you were able to navigate that? I know imposter syndrome is real. Like people think, oh, I can't do this. I'm not qualified or whatever, but like not doubting our strengths. What did that look like for you as you're navigating your career?
I took a bunch of assessments and looked at things that reflected who I was. I looked at my astrology, my numerology. I did the Myers Briggs. I did the DISC assessment. I did all these things to figure out who I was. And I remembered, and what I saw was, oh my God, the things that I love and they're just natural to me, like water to a fish, are the things I'm supposed to be doing and offering out in the world. And I thought, wow. But today, there's a new tool called Clifton Strength Finder, and it is a great tool. You can get your first 5 strengths for $25 or something, or you could invest 50 more and get all 34. You take this test, you answer a bunch of questions, and it reflects back to you, and you're like, oh my gosh. And I feel like so much of our society plays to our weaknesses. And so we think we have to improve those weaknesses to be who we want to be and to impact the way we want. And that's a long, hard road that generally doesn't lead to what we want. So leveraging your strengths and leaning into your strengths and putting yourself in situations where you can exercise your strengths are really the answers. And so it helps narrow that big question of what's next. And it also helps confirm, like maybe you have an idea of what's next. It'll test against that to either validate or invalidate. That may or may not be the best for you. So I think that those things help me getting that external validation. And yeah. And I think putting myself out there with my mentor and actually participating in transformation. Oh my gosh, I remember one time in Colorado, we were leading this workshop and it was mostly men in the workshop, which is wild because it was often mostly women. And these were really smart men. They were like all into physics and all this stuff. And I remember feeling really intimidated because it all felt new to me. And there was one point where it would have been a great opportunity for me to step in and lead, and I couldn't talk. And I started shaking. I don't think I was visibly shaking, but I could feel it inside. And I remember Dory looking at me and me just going, go ahead and take it. And so she just kept going. I had to leave and I went in the bathroom and I was just like having anxiety and shaking because I felt, oh my God, I don't deserve to be here. I don't know anything. These people are so smart. They're going to see it. They don't think I'm worthy of being up here. I'm wasting their time. Like all these things. And I had to just get it out, which is what her work offers is a way to get it out.
Mm,
So I was doing that in the
yeah.
bathroom. And again, bathroom, great place to let the dust out. And then I got myself, and what came out of just letting that go was, no, I'm here. They're not standing up delivering this information. I am. If I wasn't qualified or meant to do this,
Mm.
the universe would not have me here.
Yeah.
So I got up and did it. And I think by just willing to be uncomfortable, not buy into the fear, and just take a moment to release and get my head straight is what got me through all of those things.
Yeah. I love that because it's so relatable. And the idea of when you are in that fear, being able to take that moment for yourself to calm down, release that energy, and then remind yourself of truth, right?
Yeah.
Here in the moment, I'm safe. Here in this moment, I am here for a reason, right? Like I am supposed to be here. I wouldn't be here. Like just bringing yourself down off of that heightened. Yeah.
Yeah, a little freaked out.
Yeah. Which we all
Yeah.
experience. And it's
Right?
just a matter of how do we handle it? Do we let
Yeah.
it take over or are we going to choose to take a step back and try and let it release it and ground ourselves? Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Let me just look and see if there's anything else that one thing that you said early on in our discussion was that the universe guides you and takes you where you need to be. Can you talk a little bit more about your experience and belief with that and how that works?
I've always known I was supposed to be in Seattle. I was adopted in California and we moved back east when I was a baby. And then we moved back to Southern California. And years ago, I made my way up north because I knew I needed to be in Seattle. And when I got to Seattle, there was just this about 4 years of rapid growth and transformation that just unfolded. It wasn't intentional. And I thought I had done a lot of work and grew, but this was like, there must be fertilizer in the soil here because it just took off. And so inside of that, I was being a mom primarily. I had a small practice, but I really was just wanting to go back to work. And I knew I needed to use my voice. So I thought private practice was where I was supposed to really go into up here. So I did. But I met a business partner and we just both wanted to use our voices. We got along great. So we started a radio show because we got this nudge that we were supposed to do it. And we did it and it became a hit. And then we did some more. And then they wanted us to do a 5-day a week Wake Up Seattle morning shows. So started doing that. If I wouldn't have listened to these nudges, if I would have come up with the concerns and considerations of why I should not be on radio, that would have never happened. But I kept getting nudges. It was like just the ease and synchronicity of the radio station appearing, the people, that it was well received, that we always had these amazing guests that I knew a ton of people that would be great to have on the radio. And then it became clear it was time to be done.
Mm.
And I really didn't want to listen to that because we had, anyhow, it just didn't seem like the time to quit. But I was like, okay, because I kept getting the nudge that it was time to wrap the show. And so when I wrapped the show, I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen here? What does this all mean? And then it became really clear that I was meant to go back into private practice. And where I've gone with private practice and who I've been able to serve since listening to that, I couldn't have imagined.
Mm.
But I had to open up the space for that to happen. And so again, it looks like the thoughts, the little voices in my ear, my voice is coming on this side. This is where they come in. This people showing up, the out of the blue phone calls of people that found me in really random magical ways and that I'm like the absolute perfect person for them at that time. Things like that. And the universe also being really clear of where I was to go. So I had a couple different offices in some of this time that I'm referencing. It's a 4-year period. And the universe, like when I would think about, oh, I'm going to go look at this office, I get this feeling, nope. And I'd be like, okay. And then something would tell me to call someone. And then that someone was like, hey, I was just thinking about you. I'm like, we haven't talked in years. I know, but I was thinking about you. And I think you should meet this woman. And so then I go and meet this woman, and turns out this is the right place for me to be part of. I get a lot of auditory, I get a lot of just knowing, I get a lot of kinesthetic. But for people listening, it's like tap into what are the ways that you get nudges from the universe and pay attention when you get them.
Yeah.
Really pay attention. So during that period as well, I think it was during that period. Yeah. There was a friend of mine. She lived in Hawaii. She was here visiting her daughter. And I really wanted to see her. And we were trying to shore up our calendars. And she texted one day and said, this is the only day I can meet. Can you do it? And I said, okay. And I moved stuff around. But I got this feeling like, oh, this doesn't feel right. The day of, I'm getting dressed and ready. I'm just thinking, oh, I'm going to see her. And I go to get my car. And when I get in my car to put my seatbelt on, the spirit is no, don't go. My body was just like total stress. And I was like, but this is the only day I'm going to be able to see her. And spirit was like, don't go. And I overrode that thought. I went, and she told me her daughter had this dog that was having problems, and I communicate with the animals. So she wanted me to see this dog and see if there was anything I could get or talk to this dog about. And we went up to her daughter's apartment to look at the dog. And through a series of scuffles and chaos, the dog bit me. I've never been bit by anything in my life. Animals love me. And I was like, holy shit. And so we ran to the emergency room. Yeah, I'm fine, but I have a little mark on my arm right here, like a little tattoo, because I don't have tattoos, but I have a scar. And it reminds me, listen to the guidance you get. Trust it, no matter how inconvenient or weird it is. Trust it. So that was definitely a nudge because I had gotten it clear,
Yeah.
but I didn't listen. So sometimes I listened. That time I didn't. Now I listen regularly, all the time. Although I didn't listen the other day, but I listened quick enough to not have a problem. So we're human. We forget. Like, we'll remember this stuff and then we'll
Yeah.
forget. And that's why it's worthy of building it into a habit and a practice in your daily life.
Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Totally, Brittany.
As we wrap up, can you tell the audience what services you offer and how they can find you if they're interested in learning more from you?
Certainly. I offer one-on-one coaching services right now. I do occasionally do like classes and groups, and I work with people to help them remember who they are, why they're here. And we help you build a lifestyle and a practice so that your life works and that you can get on to why you really came here. Because so many people are realizing that they're here for a purpose that's bigger than what they're doing at the moment, but they don't know how to get there for a myriad of reasons. And so we clean up and tend to whatever is in between where you are and where you want to be. And they can find me on my website at michelleraywoodward.com. And that's RAE. My dad thought I was this ray of sunshine. And I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, but I like Instagram better than the rest of them. But that's just my personal preference. And you can reach out, call me. I have any questions. But on my website, I have a lot of information. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, so I have a few trances on there for sleeping, anxiety, confidence. But I have blogs and I have other interviews I've done and things that people can engage in on the site.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for
thanks.
being here today. I loved our conversation and the energy that you brought. I really enjoyed our exchange. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been lovely and I love what you're doing. And thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for tuning in today, and a huge thank you to our guest for sharing such valuable insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback helps others discover the podcast, and it means the world to me as I continue to bring you content that supports your career change journey. If today's conversation resonated with you and you're feeling stuck in a career that doesn't fulfill you anymore, I'm here to help. My one-on-one career coaching program is designed specifically for women who are ready to break free from the grind and discover a career that truly excites them. In our sessions, we'll uncover what's holding you back, identify your true passions, and create a clear, actionable plan to transition you into a career that aligns with your deepest values. You can get in touch with me directly at shiftyourdayjob@gmail.com, or you can connect with me on social media at shiftyourdayjob. I'd love to hear from you and support you on this journey. Until next time, I'm your host, Brittany Cates, and together, let's shift your day job.